Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you'll get this sometime on Monday, but right now I'm sitting in the dark of my classroom because the power's out, and luckily I'm on a laptop, so I got a little bit of juice left. So, wanted to go over a few things with you as we kind of move into the next quarter. Thank you all for getting your R&O working for the sub work done last week. And again, it was an easy last week just because didn't want to overwhelm you with a few things. So, a couple things I want to talk to you about as we move into quarter two, and that's your assignments for this week. So you will have a Quizlet review that is due October 29th at 7:45 in the morning. Again, make sure it's on time. Pretty much same thing, and that's actually a shorter one because that one is only 3 sections long with 10 questions. Again, we're going to continue doing these to get in a good habit of creating Quizlets. Next is you do have a quiz that is due at the end of the day on Friday, covering Section 1 and Section 2, and another topic that I do want to teach you about a little bit right now that goes in reference to your, it's not really a project, but it is a, a longer assignment, and that is your state of nature. Part of your quiz will cover the state of nature in Section 1 and Section 2, so I want to make sure you have that available. So let's talk about the state of nature, because it's not really covered in your book, and I want to make sure that you're successful on the quiz. So the state of nature is kind of an idea that was kind of first coined by a political philosopher, Thomas Hobbes, and then later used by John Locke, another political philosopher. And basically it is a kind of deep dive into how people act, how people treat each other, and how people work with each other when there is no government. And Thomas Hobbes and John Locke had a rather bleak kind of look at that scenario. And that bleak look, that kind of negative look, is the idea that it would be rather violent, dangerous times because at its core, at their core, human beings are nasty, violent, jealous individuals. And the only way to deal with that is to create government in order to establish some level of order. The interesting thing, how you establish this order, this protection from ourselves, because that's really what we're trying to do with government, is to protect ourselves from ourselves, because we are nasty, evil, violent creatures, is to take away our natural rights. If you think about it, government does not give us rights. Government doesn't give you the freedom of speech or the freedom of press or any of those other types of amendments that we are Bill of Rights that we know about, but instead it restricts those freedoms. The Bill of Rights is a guarantee that you'll have those freedoms. But every single protection and security that is afforded anyone, no matter if they're living in America or any other country, is at the cost of one's freedom. Just think about this as this type of example. You can't, if you drive, you can't drive as fast as you want on the highway without consequences. You can't blow through a stop sign. You can't drive on one side of the road in America as opposed to in England. You have limited freedoms. Now the government takes those freedoms away in order for you to feel a sense of order and security. I can't go into Publix, a grocery store, and take whatever I want off the shelf without having some level of consequences being held against me. I have lost freedom, but through that loss of freedom, we will hopefully gain order. And that is how government does it. That's how government provides us with protections and security and order, is by taking away our freedoms. The real question that they ask ourselves is, how far do we let the government go? How far do we let them take away our freedoms in order to provide that level of order and security? And for that matter, what freedoms are taken away? And that really comes down to the core, and the first thing that we have to look at is the state of nature. That's the first step. We have to look at human beings at their very simplistic state. How are human beings at their very, and I'm just noticing the Wi-Fi going off, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to upload this today. But how are human beings at their very, very simplistic state. How do they treat each other? If you were living without government around you, how would you treat one another? Would you treat them with respect? Would you treat them with kindness? Because if you think about it, we are taught all those things. And you can see there, yeah, I don't have Wi-Fi, so I don't know when you guys are going to get this. And there goes my VPN being disconnected, so that's not a good sign. So you'll probably get this whenever I get a chance to get it uploaded. Think about it. I have a 1-year-old, and I'm hopefully going to teach her kindness and appreciation and respect and love and thoughtfulness and empathy. And I'm going to hopefully teach all these things because she probably doesn't have them within her. She has to be taught those things because her only concern right now, even at such a young age, is survival. Getting enough to eat, sleeping. Play is a certain part of things. The joy is a certain part of it. But sometimes joy at the expense of others. I mean, we have to teach her that taking away a toy from another kid is not nice. You don't do that. We have to teach her that stealing is not a good thing. We have to teach her all these things because in her core, and I don't want to say my daughter is evil at her core, but her one concern is survival and her own joy, her own happiness, her own enjoyment. So we have to teach her things to avoid that. It's really interesting to think about that, and that's what I want you to think about in the assignment. Now, obviously, I can't click on this because if I do, it's not going to go where I need to. But you'll see inside that state of nature assignment, I have 2 choices: a paper, 500 words, or a visual. Now that I feel the paper and MLA format, cover page, all that stuff, you answer those questions. How would people live? How would they act? Who would they live with? All those types of things, those questions there. You need to address those questions very, very thoughtfully. Do you agree with me? Now, you don't have to say, I agree with Mr. Clapper, but what is your opinion? What do you think the state of nature would look like at its core? What do you think the state of nature would be at its core, or at human beings at their core with no government? Do you see it being craziness, or do you see maybe people being kind and empathetic towards others? Either way, or either assignment that you choose, either choice, either option, you need to address those questions. Now, when it comes to visual, I expect an amazing looking visual, not just a few pictures slapped together in a PowerPoint, but an amazing visual. I would say the visual part is the more difficult of the 2 choices because I expect something spectacular looking on a single PowerPoint slide. Something incredibly well done. Now, you have over the weekend to do this, but as always, I'm not accepting late work. So please make sure that you get it on time. And send me questions if you have about it. Now, we'll probably have an online check-in this week, and we'll probably have a discussion post coming up as we look at these other things. But really take a look. Have fun with the state of nature thing. What would your state of nature look like? Once we build this state of nature, we're going to have another longer project. That's not necessarily more work. It'll be a little longer work-wise, but you'll have a couple weeks to work on it. And we're going to look at addressing Mr. Clapper, my state of nature, and how human beings act and respond and stuff like that. So make sure to get these assignments done. There'll be probably a few others coming up. I hope you get this sometime soon. Either maybe this evening I'll be able to post it, or tomorrow morning I'll be able to post it. So if you have any questions, shoot me a Teams message or an email, and we'll get after it. And I will talk to you later on this week. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.